And first, just start with how you might go about displaying your information or organizing your information. If you have a real simple resource library, meaning you don't want to put or don't have a need to put a lot of documents online, you can simply just create a page. And I'm showing you here a San Bernardino page where all they've done is create links to documents that are uploaded to their media library. And they've done that just by inserting a URL to that file or a hyperlink. So that's one very simple way if you don't want to use out of the box. Go to all the trouble to set that up. Here's another great example of it. This is Norman's, and they have gone ahead and even added buttons here to other tools that they have, and then just have a handful of documents that they've uploaded. So basically, they're storing their documents in the media library, as you might have done with your financials and things like that. I did want to say, notice both of them have this section up top called National Member Information. These are links to the national directory if you want to search for a member, or if you want to update your profile or change your password. I have encouraged them to include that here so that if someone logs onto their chapter website, they can access this information without having to go over to the national site. Okay. Then here's yet another example of it. I'm sure this is work in progress because I think Sherry from San Antonio is planning to use out of the box. But you can see she's just added 2 columns and plans to put links in this way. You can get quite a bit on a page. Okay. Now to some out of the box examples. This is Assistance League of Boise, and what I've done here is this member resources page, when I click on it, brings up this page, and I've done a redirection. First I've offered those national links, and then I've done basically a link for Chapter Information Online Tools documents to the same pages that I have created and made a submenu of member resources. All of these menus up here are landing pages as well, and so I needed to have something on this page, and it seemed if somebody accidentally hit on member resources and didn't choose one of these, I would help redirect them with this and explain what might be on each of the pages. Okay, so then I'm just going to go ahead and look at or show you chapter information. This is one way to display information with out of the box, and you can see it's showing folders or files that are inside a folder. Another way or other examples are here, where they've just embedded a document in a page that you can view and download. And finally, here's a third example that we have where they've created an accordion and have embedded a document inside the accordion that you can preview and go ahead and download. So these are all the things you can do with out of the box. To do this, though, you have to have a Dropbox account or a Google Drive account where you store your documents. So I have created an Assistance League of Boise Dropbox account. You do it with an email address. It's tied to an email address as your login, and then you set up a password. It's very simple to set up, and I would encourage you when you do so to installed the app, which you can see the icon right here on my desktop. It creates a little app, and it just makes it a lot easier to manipulate your files. Here I've organized my documents in the way I want them to display on the website. If you saw, I had a chapter information page, I had a documents page that had my key documents, my newsletters, and other documents, and so on. And so when we get there, you'll see why I did it this way, and why it's so much easier and simpler. I don't know if there. Kathy, would you suggest I say anything more about Dropbox?
Just a couple of things if you're going to use it. So there's two apps, and the one we have on the national site links to Dropbox, and it's called Out of the Box. The one that we're looking at now, and it's being loaded on the development site where we're making sure it works well and doesn't cause conflicts, is called Use My Drive. That one connects to Google Drive. So we're hoping to have both of those available. One of the things we have discovered in using this on the national website is that Word documents are becoming a problem. And that is because there are now so many different versions of Word, all the way from 9703 all the way up to 2016. And what's happening is that the newer versions air out when people with the older versions of Word try to download them. But we can go backwards, but a program can't go forward. So what we're trying to do is load up and convert as many documents as possible to a PDF format, because everyone has Adobe or can get Adobe very easily. And Sherry has suggested for Word documents that we put them at an old version of 97-003, that virtually everyone can open those. So we're going to try that. Yeah?
Let me talk a little bit more about this later. If you if you embed the file, that is an issue. If you embed the library, it is not an issue. So let's come back to that one. Okay. So you want to use Out of the Box to display your documents that you've already loaded into Dropbox. How do you do that? All right. So go to your dashboard on the site, and you page down to the very bottom, and there's this Out of the Box section. We have enabled the plugin on all of the sites. Oops. And you go to Settings, which is the default if you click on Out of the Box, and you'll see this button called Reauthorize the Plugin. Go ahead and click on that, and it's going to take you to a settings where, it's authorized. It was already set up with the Boise site. So let's see if I unauthorize it. If I can then get to the page that shows me.
Do you want to authorize it on the Salem site?
We'll give that a try.
Okay, but you know what? No, you can't, because I don't know the password. I could look it up really quick.
Nope, you don't have to.
Oh, I don't? Okay.
We can hook you to mine.
Okay, great.
I suspect, though, I have a feeling what happened when they replicated the sites is that they replicated the Boise Out of the Box. Settings. And so, see, it says here, it's successfully authorized and linked to Assistant Zika Boise. So we'll have to go ahead and get that taken out for you guys so that you can do this. It's very simple though. When you hit the reauthorize the plugin button here, it comes up and it asks you to enter your Dropbox account. So you enter your email address and your password. And then it will ask you to give permission to Out of the Box to access your Dropbox site. You say yes, and then you're done. It then brings you straight to the Settings tab here. The only thing that I would recommend that you do is change these 4 settings. Go to Users folder. Oh, by the way, all of those authorization instructions are in your instructions. Fairly straightforward. Sherry said she was able to do it just by following those. So here you come to Users folders and turn these all off to No. Basically, this would allow someone to create folders on your Dropbox. You don't want them to be able to do that. So do that and then click Save Changes. Your Dropbox is set up. What it does is creates, once you've authorized it, it adds these 3 icons to every text box you have. So it's got the out-of-the-box shortcode, embedding files, and links. We have chosen not to use links because it takes your user into your Dropbox account. And we believe folks are looking to view a document on your website and download it, not be redirected to Dropbox. Okay. So I just want to now show you how you can use these. First is just embedding a document on a page, as National has done here with their financial statements. If you look here, they just got a link to a page. So they created a page, and then when it opens up, it brings up the financial statements.
Yep.
Okay, it's being a little slow. There you go. And then if you want to, this is a full page, but say you had it in a columns and it was really small, they can zoom in on it, or they can pull it out, view it full page, and then choose, say, to download it, which they would hit this button, or to print, and they can hit this button. To do this, you're just going to come to your text box, and you can do this in just a standard text box. You don't have to go into Visual Composer or anything like that. You just go ahead and you say, I want to embed a file. You can click on that second icon there. You go ahead. It's going to bring you up to your Dropbox account or your directories in your Dropbox. I'm just going to go ahead and find a file. I'm going to do my org chart. And I click Embed. And it shows this gray box. All you can do is delete it, should you decide that you want to put something else in. But when you go to view the page, it shows the document. Very simple, right? Now, we didn't think everybody wanted to have to create a page for every single document they had. So there's another way to use exactly that same solution, and that is by putting them into the accordions like this. So you create an accordion, and with each one, you go ahead and embed that document. Still a little tedious in that you have to do each one at a time, but at least it's not a separate page for each document.
She didn't.
Okay, to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and delete the one I just added. Oh, no, I didn't want to do this because this is going to take a while. What I was going to do is go ahead and edit the page, which I think I have right here. Yep. And you can see if you go edit their accordion,
She wasn't her cheerful self.
they have just inserted those same drop in the box elements between each of the accordions. Okay? So now my favorite way of using out of the box is like a resource library. So you can go all the way. National has their full resource library. Basically, all documents that they have uploaded to resource or to Dropbox are visible here in the resource library. You can search on them here. You can sort them by name, so on. And they've got folders. You can move between them. Here, I went down to 16, so shoot, I want to go back and look at a different directory. Quite nice. That's for, again, just showing your full library. What I did on the Boise site, sorry, I have to go find that, is I basically chose to just display a directory or folder at a time. So I put these 5 documents into a folder called chapter member information and are displaying just those. Kind of breaks it up, presents it in a nice, easy way. If they want to open, view a document, they just go ahead and click on it, and it opens up to a preview. One of the nice things about this is that they can now, here they can do the whole download and the print like they could before, but say, oh, what else is in this directory? They can start paging through. They should be able to. Look at the next document in the directory, either by arrowing, and it's transferring the data. You can see it's and this must be a big file that was coming up next. Anyway, so you can move between them. It shows you that there are 7 files in this folder that I can look at. So, how to do that one? Oops. Uh-oh. I thought I just did that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my edit page example. And instead of using this embed files icon, I'm going to use this first one called out of the box shortcode. I click on that. And say I wanted to do what National did and just show my full library, I would just go ahead and say, oh, well, this is showing that it's file browser, so it's showing me what my browser would be, and I go ahead and just say insert. And it shows a blue box now. If I click on it, it gives me a pencil to edit settings. But if I want to show the full resource, the full Dropbox site, I don't need to change anything. I can just go straight with the defaults. And it looks a little different than National's. It doesn't have the same color coding, but here you can see I've got the same search. I can move between and everything like that. But if you want to do just a directory, when it came up, you select the directory you want to show. So say I want to show my board of directors. I've done this. And then when I've set these up, I have tried to create it as simple as possible. And so I would recommend you just kind of look through these different settings. I didn't want them to be able to see where they were in it because I'm just showing one directory. I didn't want to show the column name that would say file name and things like that. There's no need to refresh. I'm not changing my documents regularly that somebody online would need to be able to refresh the view. I do want to display the files in the folder, and say I had a subfolder in there. I had my board of directors and committees directory, and then maybe I chose to split them up. I had then board of directors and the files under that versus another folder for committees with the files under that. If I left this on, it would show those. And since I rarely use that, I go ahead and leave that on. I want to show the file size because I want someone to know if it's a very large file. I don't care about the date last modified. The reason is it shows the date it was uploaded to Dropbox, not the date of the file. So not as useful. And then I go ahead and leave the extension. I want them to know if it's a PDF versus a doc file or something like that.
Spelled different.
Then there
with
are
spaces.
some more advanced options. If, say, you wanted to sort by something different, you could change the sorting settings. Advanced, you can choose whether to have your search a search. Since I'm just showing 4, 5, 6 files, I typically turn that off. I do want them to be able to preview it in line, so I leave that on. Probably the one that's the most advanced is the ability to say, don't show this file, or show only these files in that directory, or hide. And so if you hover over these, it'll show you. You can say, show only these extensions. So I only want to show the PDFs, or show these files with these names. And you'll notice what it's showing here is that you separate, you can type in a file name, then you separate it with that bar, and then the next file name, bar, file name. And if you've got a name with spaces in it, you put quotes around it. So you put quote file space 1 dot JPG close quote, and then you do the bar to separate. So this is if you've got things in. I was able to set up my Dropbox account such that it's exactly how I want it displayed on the web, so I didn't have to use any of these. But say you have an existing Dropbox account, and you've got a bunch of stuff in the folders, and you don't want to reorganize everything, you could probably figure out how to display what you want to display in a list by choosing these. And then you just go ahead and hit the insert button. And if I preview this page, it now shows up with just my board of directors. And of course, you know, at the top of this, I would go ahead and add a heading, board of directors, oops, and then set a heading, and so on. So, I believe that's all I had. Oh, what I wanted to say, back to what Kathy was talking about at the start. There are issues with the embedding a document, a doc file. What it does, what I believe is going on is it's trying to use your version on your PC to view a file, and might be something inside the browser. But anyway, because of the different versions of Word, it doesn't work. What I have found, it doesn't work sometimes, and sometimes I've even had trouble with some PDFs. That's probably with timeout, meaning it's trying to load the file and timing out. Sometimes if you try multiple times on a PDF that's not working for you, it will eventually work. But what I have found is this way, when I do it this way, I've had no problems with viewing any of my Word files, unless it times out and then it's been a problem. One sec, I'm trying to find, here we go. For instance, I know when I tried to embed strategysummary.doc, it didn't work. Yet, here I can come and view it just fine when it's in this listing mode. Okay? Does anyone have questions on Dropbox before we move on?
I am not seeing any.
Or out of the box, sorry. Okay. All right, so then another topic I wanted to cover today was formatting for smaller screens. All right. When you are developing your page, I encourage you to look at how the pages are going to display on different devices. For example, on your computer that you're developing on, you know, a PC or laptop, on a tablet and a phone, in both portrait and landscape modes. Your pages could look different. Now, there's a couple easier ways to do that than having to have all of those devices yourself and page through everything. And probably one of the easiest is to edit the page with Visual Composer. Anytime you bring up a page, you can edit here with Visual Composer. And it brings up, it sometimes takes quite a bit of time to load. When it does, it brings up the ability to be able to view it on different screens. I probably should have chosen simpler. Okay. Continue. So what it has done here is it's given me the ability to say this is a PC, this is a tablet in landscape mode, a tablet in portrait, and then phones in the same. So say I wanted to look at what this page was going to look like on a phone. I would just click in portrait mode. I would just click on this, and then I can page on down. And I can even, you'll see I can even edit when I'm in this mode. So if I wanted to edit the text box, I'd click here. If I wanted to edit the row or columns, I could click here. If you want to turn off the guides, you can here. The guides means now when I hover over, I don't have the option. Okay. I actually find that this is not as easy for me to use because I'm constantly having to switch through these different modes to see what the pages look like. I typically just go ahead and open a new window. And I resize it. You'll notice as I shrink it, it's basically representing this is what it would look like on a tablet in landscape mode. Maybe if I get a little smaller, that's probably what it's going to look like in mode. And as I get down onto phones, when it goes to this, it shifts away from having the top menu up there and that search bar to just the little bar menu here. This is what it would look like in phone mode, and then in landscape, and then even smaller what it would look like in portrait mode. And then I can just quickly move between, oh, how's that page here versus, okay, here, what does it look like, and so on. So that is by far the easiest for me. I have gone ahead and I have developed a page with a bunch of errors for you to show you what they would, when I say errors, a bunch of issues, that's a better word, with a bunch of issues displayed on a phone or on different sizes. And so what I'd like to do is walk through those with you so that as you're developing your pages, you know what to stay away from and what to add yourself. So here what I've done is created a page, or a section, a row, with a text box and 3 pictures inserted in it. You can see that right here. Here's the page. It's just a text box with 3 images side by side. You can't tell that this one's actually up here because the view is too small. But when I go ahead and shrink my window, you can see it pushes that picture down to a second row as it gets too small. When they can't fit anymore, it forces them down. These are all medium-sized pictures. So then, you know, as I keep getting smaller and smaller, oops.
Figuring out, develop.
Now it took me back to full width.
We're dealing with those who are not fulfilling their membership requirements.
Muted.
So that membership.
Unmuted.
Smaller and smaller, it's going to wrap that one. I'm going to close this down. Okay. What I've done, the next section is instead of using pictures in a text box, I have gone ahead and created a row with 3 columns, each with a single image in it. And let's see what happens when I do that. It's the second section. And you see how it nicely resizes these pictures.
Okay.
So as my width gets smaller, it starts resizing them until it gets too small in phone mode, and then it decides that it's going to stack them one on top of each other. And the issue, you'll notice, is it truly stacks them one on top of the other. Now, the reason that this happens I'm going to move this to a new window so that I'm not constantly resizing the other window. Okay, so here's the page that I've been editing. And I have a row here with first just a text that's single width, meaning full width, and then I have a row within a row that's got the 3 columns. And what it's doing when it gets to phone mode is it stacks your rows on your columns on top of each other. So this comes first because it's there, and then it will display this first left column, followed by the right column, or the middle column, followed by the right column. And it will add no spacing. So what I'll show you later is how you can add spacing between those pictures so that they show up not stacked right on top of each other like that in phone mode. I call it phone mode, whatever. Smaller screens. It's all smaller screens. So the real trouble occurs when you start to try to use captions. And this next section shows you the captions. Now it looks great in phone mode, right? Okay, you maybe don't have quite the spacing you want between your pictures, but these are the captions assigned to each of the pictures. I've actually entered the caption inside the picture in medium mode. But take a look at what happens when I say I have. Oops, wrong section, sorry. I should have done different pictures for each of these. It would have been more straightforward. Here, this is the row. You see, these are it looks great in phone mode when it forces them all to single column and stacks them on top of each other. But notice that as I'm resizing the window, it's just overlapping the pictures on top of each other. And so for some reason, adding a caption causes issues. So that what I then recommend is instead you go ahead and create your own caption. So instead of using the caption in the picture, here I have created a row or a section with the pictures followed by the text. that I wanted in these captions so that these will show up beneath the picture. Well, I want to show you one issue that can occur with those. Here's that section. Is because I have put them each in a different row. Okay, where is this? The pictures, now notice that the pictures in this mode, they actually show up and fill your phone so that they're not tiny on a phone. But because I put the pictures in a different section or in a different row from the text, what it's doing is coming through. It's going to first show this row, then it's going to show this full row, first this one, then the middle picture, and then the right picture, followed by the second or this third row with each of these captions. So what you really want to do is create whenever you want the content to stay together in a column, or one after another, you need to make sure that they are in the same column. So what I've done here is added the single image plus the text box. Now, oh shoot, I thought I had one without padding. Okay, what I did with this one is I've gone ahead and I have added padding and margins, and I want to talk a bit about padding, borders, and margins. I know a lot of folks will just try to add empty space, to put an empty space element to put space between components. I would encourage you instead to use these padding and margin settings. So what's that? Okay, so say you have content, a picture, a text box, whatever. If you add a padding setting, it will add this blank space around your content. You can also add a border, and it can be any size. It can be from 1 pixel to, looks like it's about 50 pixels tall, and you can set a color to a border. Then even outside that is this section called margin. And it's, again, empty space or blank space, transparent is what they call it, that is outside of the border. And the way I think of it is, do you want to add space around your content, or do you want to push it away or closer to something else? And that's when you would change the margin. You can set negative margin, and I'm going to show you where that becomes useful right now. Okay, as you're editing any element, so here I'm going to go ahead and I'm editing this text box. Oh, one thing is you can set padding and margins, borders for everything. Every time you have this little edit, here's this for the entire row, or this whole section, you would edit this one. This one actually does the same thing here for this whole column because it's a single column, but here I've got 3 columns, so if I clicked on this one, it would do this column versus that one, the center column versus the right. Or when you're editing a single element, you click on the pencil box, or I'm sorry, the pencil for this text box. You'll see here, I have a tab up here called Design Options. So I come here. What I have done is I have set a negative 30 margin on my fake caption, my text box caption. I'm going to go ahead and take that away so you can see what it looks like when it's not there. And then a 20 pixel spacing below it. Oh, I should tell you guys that. So clearly, this is how you would enter your padding, would be in this first insights box, border here, and margin here. You have top, right, bottom, and left, and you just enter them in these boxes. You can enter pixels, or you can enter percentages. So I could do something like 10% right here, and it would put 10% padding on the side of my text box. If you don't enter something, so say I just enter 10, it's going to assume it's a pixel. So if you want to do percentages, I would encourage, or you have to enter the percentage sign. I prefer to do percentages on the left and right. As your window scales, that percentage will scale. So say you say it's 10%, that's going to be much smaller on a phone. 10% of your phone screen width is much smaller than your PC phone width. So it scales nicely as your window changes, size changes. So again, I'm going to go ahead and remove both of those two, and I'm going to preview the page. And it's updating this version. And here is where I change these. You'll notice that these bottom ones have this nice, love these ladies. My caption is right up against the picture, just as it was if I added the caption to inside the picture. That's because I assigned -30 margin. This first one that I changed, there's all this spacing between my picture and text box. And so by setting it to -30, it moved my text up to be about here. And then notice that this is butting right up against the picture here. That's because I took off the 20 pixel padding that was at the bottom. And here, now I've got this nice spacing between the picture and the text. Let me show you another example of where these can be useful. So I have created these video players elements, and this one I believe I have entered with a 15% padding on, or 12% padding on either side. I come in here, again, click on design options. Yep, 12% on either side. That's great. Looks great on a normal PC, but now I'm getting down onto a phone size, and it's tiny. I really wanted it full screen when it came onto the phone. So let me show you how you would do that. Here I've basically done the same thing, except for I created a row, and I created it with this one, I wish it would show you, there you go, 1/6 plus 4/6 plus 1/6. So it's got these two columns on the left and right where I put nothing in these columns. They're basically adding or acting as spacing for me. But I didn't want it to show up on the phone. So this is getting pretty advanced here, but you can go into columns and you'll notice they now have another tab called responsive options.
No, she's not.
And I can go into this, and what it's saying is, what do you want to do on different device sizes? Here's the PC, here's a tablet, in landscape, portrait mode, and then finally phones. And I can say, I don't want to show this blank space on my phone. Notice here, phone, hide on device. I go ahead and check that. And I can do the same, oops, sorry, here on this one. And now it looks, here it is with my 1/6 on either side, but as I scroll down to phone mode, it's full width. Okay? There are other things you can do with this responsive design settings. And uh, what it's showing here is that I have created, okay, there are 12 columns to every page. And so when I do a 1/6 by 4/6 by 1/6 row, I am assigning 2 columns to the 1/6, 8 columns to the, is that right? Yes, 8 to the 4/6, and then 2 to that last 4/6. And I can change this. I can say no. When I'm on a tablet, I want to show half width. It's you very rarely ever want to use that. I believe I did it on the home page in the news and events section. And so if you're interested in seeing what that does, I have created where a section is visible in, oh, I actually, oh, that's not going to, yeah, it did. I think what I've done is created 2 duplicate sections, and I have displayed the section in one mode, in all 3, the larger screen sizes, and then hidden it in smaller screens. So let's see. Yes, this section, this bottom section, I'm saying don't show on larger screens, show only on a phone, and therefore, because I'm in a larger screen right now, it's showing it as grayed out. I'm trying to get away from that. Okay. And then this one is set to be visible on everything except for phones. So it's just, they've just got the opposite settings. And the reason I did this is I wanted to have padding Sometimes it's a trick to find where you put your padding. I would have put it on the post grid because what I wanted to do was not make the news look huge on landscape phones. And so oh, there it is, sorry. What I did, on this one was add, no, this one. I'm sorry, guys. Did I do it here? Because you can set these things in so many different places, sometimes it's a little challenging. There we go. On phones, I said add a 15% border on either side, because if you look at what it's going to look like on a landscape phone, these were showing up so huge, they didn't even fit on my phone, the pictures. And so I wanted to kind of constrain the width so that it looked decent. Anyway, any questions on padding, making look decent on phones? Oh, I did have one more, sorry. Okay, so if you look at our donate page, folks, I've added things intentionally in places like this separator bar at the bottom of this column. I did it because when this is displayed on a phone, this column gets displayed underneath this column, and I wanted consistency, the separator to be between every section, even when it's on the phone. And you'll notice this extra spacing here. This looks like it's a little far away. That's because I had to add spacing or padding, bottom padding, below the separator bar so that when I went to the small screen, I had the exact same spacing where there was the column break. You can't see where a column break was. It looks nice and consistent from page to page. So you'll want to look at that as you shrink your pages down. Where's your column breaks? And make sure that your page looks consistent throughout. Another great example is Thrift Shop.
Margaret did it.
And here, you know, you've got to remember when you have rows within rows with columns that you're going to have the issue every time you have a column break. For instance, or a row break, actually every row. So this is a row, so I would have the problem from that picture.
Wouldn't want it mailed again. So.
To the next. See, because this is a row, I need to make sure that there's nice spacing after this picture and before this one. After this one, after each of these two, because they're all rows. Okay. We have 10 minutes.
So Nikki, we do have a couple of questions. It looks like Anita Lau answered her question on Dropbox. Anita also wants to know, how do you keep the Howdy Nikki from appearing over your menu when you are in tablet mode? I don't know. Can you make that go away?
Well, that's only visible to you,
Yeah.
and I think what you're saying is, yeah, I do find it challenging to work around it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I need to. Oh, you're right. Mine's not showing up that way. I think if I scroll all the way up, I don't know. I have no idea. I didn't do anything special. Is yours? I know this is painful because I can't this is tablet mode. That's what she's saying. I don't know. You know, what I've ended up doing is kind of just trying to resize a little bit and getting around it so that here I can get to the log out button and so on. Remember that nobody else is going to see this. This is your WordPress admin bar overlapping onto the page, and only you have it. Nobody else will have it when they view your pages.
Oh, one of the things I was going to comment on that is when you give us your email address and we elevate you to an administrator. So whenever you go into your site with that login, it looks at your email and it goes, oh, this person is an administrator, and it will automatically load up all of the administrator, the black bar and the dashboard. What's really handy, if you can use an email address that is different than the one that you have for your personal email address in the membership database for logging in to edit. So, for instance, my personal email address is Kathy EK, but I also have a Kellerman at Comcast, and I have a technology one. So I log in to edit with one of those other ones. And if I want to see what it just looks like, I log in as Kathy EK at Gmail, and I don't get all this, the black bar and everything. I see what you'll see as a member, and it's kind of handy to have those two logins.
Yeah. Okay, since we've just got a few more minutes and no more questions, is that right?
Well, there's one question from Jan. I found old projectors make the screen size smaller in spite of PC running the projector. I think that has to do with overheads or like what are those called? The LCDs that show at meetings. But
yeah, there's always issues with those sorts of things.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the site itself. It has to do with the PC projection, your PC and your projector.
Yeah. And we really
Okay.
don't have any other questions.
Okay.
We're
Let
pretty
me
quiet.
just give a few other hints. Okay, so next time we'll try to cover Revolution Slider, and probably a few more things around page overlays, other things like that. Or I'm sorry, page organization, other things like that. But I have some handy little things I can suggest. So, you know when you enter text and you hit a row, so say you want to enter your address, 111. It's going to display, what you've done is basically entered text with a paragraph break in it by hitting the return. What you can do instead of hitting enter, you can hit shift enter. So right here, I've just typed my first line. Instead of pushing just the enter alone, I'm going to hold down the shift key and push enter, and it doesn't add a full line spacing. And they look different. It just looks nicer, and I found that I wanted to use this many places on my page. Not just addresses. It might be your available hours. You just didn't like that it started getting spread out, down the page, and you want it more condensed. You can do that. One thing it does do is you cannot apply different formatting within the row. So by hitting Shift Enter, it thinks that these are on the same row, 111 West Street, Boise, Idaho, and so it applies the exact same formatting. So I can't go in and say, I want 111 West Street to be heading 3, and I want Boise, Idaho to be heading 5, or paragraph text. It will apply the same formatting to both of those, versus here, I could do that. I could make these two different ones. These icons down here at the bottom, I know some folks have been confused with those. They are not, they're for sharing, for your users to share your page content on their sites. And so if you only have a Facebook and a Twitter account, don't go ahead and delete all the others. It has no tie to your social media capabilities and all to the user's capabilities. And those are located in, I want to say it's theme options. Yeah, theme options, general settings. Nope, they are probably...
I actually saw them somewhere a little while
Share
ago.
options?
Yeah, I know. It's just finding them again, right?
Share options. It was right there.
No.
Oh, it wasn't that.
Oh, it's social. Oh, that's silly. Here it is, share options. And they're here. So go ahead and leave all of those checked. Star bullets. Folks have asked for the red star bullet. And I have been able to create some different options for us, and I just wanted to show those to you. I haven't replicated them on the site. When we decide how we want to proceed, I can show those to you. Here we go, bullets test. Okay. we have enabled, or will enable, sorry, the ability to add icons to your page that you can then create hyperlinks. Once we've enabled that, and you go into an edit box, you are going to see this new thing here called Insert Icon.
It is
and at any
enabled.
point, you can go ahead and just hit Insert and choose from a myriad of different icons.
And I think the network enables that.
We're using it on the national site for the email icon. So go ahead and email. So we'll put someone's name, and then we'll put this little envelope next to it with a hyperlink to their address, their email address, and the mail to : and then their email address. It also then gave us the capability to add a star. And so that's what I have done here. I have inserted a star, and I have colored it red. That's why it's showing up red there. So I just go Insert, and I can filter, so I'm going to go on look for star. There's a star, and then I go ahead and I color it red. Oops, that's not the color. There's the color, red. And what it does is allow me to enter my text as bullets. Now, I have gone ahead and done that Shift-Enter here, because if I hit Enter, you'll see that the bullets are all spaced quite a ways apart. And so it doesn't look like a bullet anymore, the normal way. And so if you use Shift-Enter, you can get them to look very much like a bullet. And then you can do the usual, where say you wanted to indent a set of bullets, make sub-bullets. You could do so by, you just highlight your rows, and then you can move them over by hitting this increase indent, or say I want it back, decrease indent. So that's one way. It's kind of a, I call it poor man's bullets, because it's not true bullets. We're creating our version of it with that star. This is another way. You'll notice that this red it's actually the official red that we've got for the Assistance League star in the logo. What I have done here is created or added you see, I just type them in just like any old bullet, and I can go ahead and I can insert or indent it such that I have a sub-bullet there. And then what I've done is down at the bottom of this text block settings is this field called extra class name, and I have entered red star bullets. And then in the theme I have programmed that to convert all bullets to the star bullet. The downside with this is while it's easier, you don't have to do all this custom kind of editing, you cannot intermix different style bullets. So everything within that text box would be forced to these red stars. I couldn't have that dot, standard dot, which I could put in here on my own. So there's just no intermixing. From folks, do you have a preference for one versus the other?
I'm looking for responses. Let's see.
We can offer both, by the way.
I don't see any.
We can always send a survey afterwards and ask.
Right. Or just, I'm inclined to just give them both capabilities and just let them choose which one's more convenient for them. So, okay. Well, it's 2:03, so I think it's time we call it. Please, again, if you have specific things that you'd like us to go over, if we're not hitting your topics, that you're interested in, please let us know, and we'll go ahead and set something up for those. We did have a request for creating buttons out of pictures, and I'll be looking into that, and we might present that later. It's pretty advanced. Worst case, I'll get in touch with the gal who asked and specifically show her.
Hey, Nikki.
Yep.
Nikki, the only caution I have on having both is that you don't mix them together since they're different reds.
Right. You would not want to do this on the same page.
Nikki, could you go back to the edit on the bullets? And could you edit that and highlight one of the bullets, one of the stars, and go to color. Click down at the bottom. Doesn't it say custom? It does. So you just click on custom.
Oh.
And you can just add the exact, because we have all the hexes.
Yes, we can.
So that
Yep.
was DA33322A.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I will go ahead and add that to the instructions.
Did that for the banner last.
And then once you've set one of these up, I don't remember what you said, so I'll just call it
Dog Apple 322A.
It then will show up as a predefined color for later. So you only have to do it. Kathy, do you remember, does it last across text boxes, or is it just for that text box?
I don't think so. I think it's just that text box.
Okay.
Although I wonder if you could do it as a setting, a preset for all text boxes to add that color.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that, but we certainly could ask OptiWeb if they know how.
The way you do that is you go back to the text box.
Okay.
And when you're in the text box, up in the cog, you click the cog in the upper right, and you save it as either a default or a preset.
So this would be text box with my red?
With red, or you could save it as a default, and then that red would always come up, and you could probably save all of your preset colors that way, and then just save it as default, and then every text box that comes up after that time would have those. I haven't tried doing it with colors, but if you save it as a default, then it applies to everything. Yeah. Now you can select a preset. But I don't know if you can go forward. Oh, it's there.
And now?
Click on the color. Yeah, let's see.
Nope.
Nope.
So we'll let us play
Colors
around with that and get back with you and see what we can figure out.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know if it worked or not.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you very
Well,
much,
thank you.
Nikki. Really appreciate all the knowledge you're sharing. And thank you to everyone who's working on their websites so hard. And this will be the end of the recording. Thank you.